25% of us have a gene that increases our chances of developing Alzheimer's disease. Yet very few doctors check for it. The test is just one tool to help you in the fight against this deadly disease.
Dr. Don Colbert has been a board-certified physician for over 25 years, treating over 50,000 patients. He's also a best-selling author with more than 10 million books sold. With Alzheimer's and dementia on the rise, Dr. Colbert says millions of people are knowingly and unknowingly mistreating their brains. In his latest book, Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, he shares insight on helping to slow, manage, and reverse cognitive decline.
Well, we welcome back to the 700 Club, Dr. Don Colbert. It's good to have you here. We always love when you come. Want to show your book because It's a beautiful cover, but also because we're going to talk about what's in here. We're standing before food and recipes that are going to be helpful to you, but this book contains much more than that.
Yes, it's not just a recipe book. We go into the details on how to prevent and how to reverse early and mid-stage Alzheimer's disease.
Talk, if you will, about this test that I mentioned that is able to be given. How does one ask for it, and why isn't it given more regularly?
People, and I do that. Anyone that comes in my office with any memory loss whatsoever, I do an ApoE gene test and a homocysteine level. Real important, because this test, 25% of us have the gene and don't know we have it. But if we have a concussion or post-traumatic amnesia, then we're real prone. We're 10 times more prone to develop Alzheimer's from that. Or if you drink alcohol, alcohol accelerates the development of Alzheimer's in a person with this gene. Also, you're more prone to high cholesterol, you're more prone to type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, which is type 3 diabetes or Alzheimer's.
And that's actually what they're calling this, is type 3 diabetes. Why?
Well, because when the brain has Alzheimer's, the brain is unable to take up glucose adequately. Our brain is insulin resistant. And so that's simply the first stage of diabetes, is insulin resistance, where the brain can't take up its fuel. The brain runs on sugar. And when the brain can't take up sugar adequately, the brain starves for fuel. So it starts to skip. We start to have senior moments. So most people with Alzheimer's have insulin resistance of the brain. And
so you're saying not only can we learn some things to prevent having Alzheimer's, we can reverse it. And you found that out with your own mother.
Yes, I did. My mother had moderate to severe Alzheimer's, actually. And what I did, she then developed COVID and was on her deathbed. She had not eaten or drank anything for over a week. And then we started, flew my wife out there because I was booked. I had patients that fly in, so she went ahead of me, but literally she got her drinking again. And then we started her on this combination of nutraceuticals and hormones. We actually gave her injectable testosterone that repairs neurons.
Surprising to me.
Yes, and prevents shrinkage of the brain, as well as powerful nutrients that lower homocysteine, that toxic amino acid that causes the brain to degenerate. And then literally her brain started turning back on. And then she checked back in. She came back to life, actually, and it just amazed the nurses. The nurses literally encouraged us to put her on hospice. She was on hospice.
They had written
only
her
had
off,
literally only a day or two to live. And she came back. It was absolutely. Now I just talked to her last night, and she's doing great. She's happy, enjoying life, and communicating. Great.
Unbelievable. You have 25 ways that we can improve the health of our brains, but give me the top 3.
Well, the top 3
we
is...
want them to read the book for the rest of them.
Well, number 1, please get your ApoE gene test. Now, if you have if you have one of the genes, a single mutation, you stand about a 30% risk of Alzheimer's. But if you have a double mutation, whereas 5% of us have a double mutation, you stand over a 50% risk of Alzheimer's at an early age. So that's one. Know your ApoE gene. And 1/4 of us have it. And I have the single mutation, so I have to follow this program, especially intermittent fasting. Number 2, know your homocysteine level. Homocysteine is that toxic amino acid that degenerates our brain and inflames our brain. So we need to know it. We've got to lower it. Now, the normal are 0 to 19.2. You need to get it at least below 10. But if you have the ApoE gene, you need to get it below 7.
Wow.
or else your brain's in a degenerative inflammatory state.
I want to talk about the importance of fasting, but let's look at, because, you know, everybody thinks about things like, well, what can I eat? I'm starving. You have some recipes here that are healthy for us. Talk a little bit about this.
Well, this is our breakfast scramble, and it has pastured organic eggs, and it has avocado oil and just a little organic ghee in it to give it that nice flavor. And then it also has lots of veggies. It has broccoli, it has some sweet potatoes, it has onions and mushrooms in it. And it has those healthy oils, the avocado oil, because what we want to do is lower the glycemic index, lower the sugar, so it fuels our brain. Our brain is 60% fat, so we want lots of healthy fats. We want a healthy keto diet is the best thing for the brain, and that involves lots of healthy fats, whereas most Americans eat way too much sugar and carbs and starches.
Boy, that's for sure. And tell me about this. Looks like soup.
This is the healthy chicken soup, and it's got pastured organic chicken, lots of healthy olive oil and avocado oil in it, lots of veggies in it. You see the broccoli, you see the parsley, you see the tomatoes, but then it has like 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon avocado oil, and these are healthy fats for the brain because, again, sugar actually invites Alzheimer's in and highly processed foods, whereas oil literally prevents and protects your brain from it.
What about this? This is a
Okay,
huge
this is our
meal.
macadamia-crusted tilapia.
Now, I hear that tilapia is not good for us, but is this
well,
is
again,
different.
it's farm-raised tilapia. Farm-raised fish, just picture it. They have these huge amounts of fish in the sea that are roped off. Here are all these fish. They're giving them tons of antibiotics. They're living in their own waste material. And then they give them lots of pesticides to kill the sea lice. So these fish are full of toxins.
So what
we
kind
want
of tilapia
wild.
is
We want
this?
wild tilapia. It's macadamia crusted. Again, it's got the combination. You simply chop the macadamia nuts. You put them in with herbs and oregano and thyme and different spices, herbs, as well as you use the avocado oil to make it into a paste, put it on top of it with more olive oil, and then your veggies. A little bit of rice is fine, or cauliflower rice is really good, so we get that low glycemic index of the food.
Pizza?
Okay, this is coconut crush. You can use coconut flour or cauliflower. And then you make your pizza with low sugar tomato sauce and put your basil and your oregano and thyme in it, and your olive oil, lots of olive oil in it. And then your toppings are veggies, olives. And you can put, tomatoes and peppers and onions and mushrooms and feta cheese on it, which is a healthy cheese, whereas regular cheese is more inflammatory. Inflammation invites in Alzheimer's. So we try and lower the inflammatory foods and put in the healthy, good foods that our brain needs.
What is this?
Okay, this is our frittata, and it contains, again, organic pastured eggs. It's got the olive oil in it. It has the veggies in it, the spinach, the kale, the arugula. It has the olives, and it has all the different mushrooms, and it has the avocado oil, too, that we need. Now, this is our salmon lettuce wraps, which has not the farm-raised, but the wild salmon, real important, and it's got the herbs and spices in it that we need, and the avocados. It's avocado wrapped with lemon, all those wonderful spices that we need, the thyme and the oregano and the basil.
So here we're talking about wonderful things to eat, but you and I were talking just before we started this about the importance of fasting.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Fasting, I would say, is the most powerful thing we can do to prevent not just Alzheimer's, but every single disease. Jesus said in Matthew 6, verse 16, he said, when you fast, yet most people never fast. But if you can fast 14 hours a day, just think, if you can end at 6 o'clock at night, your dinner, and then eat the next day at 8 o'clock. Now, you can still have coffee or tea, but don't put cream in it. Just put either stevia or monk fruit in there. Then you're still fasting. But when you do that, it unleashes the most powerful process in the body. It literally...
For healing. Really.
For healing throughout the body. Our bodies undergo autophagy, where we start to burn out beta amyloid out of the brain. That triggers Alzheimer's. We also increase the most powerful protein in the brain-derived neurotrophic factor that starts to regenerate the brain. And we start to reverse insulin resistance and inflammation that fuel Alzheimer's disease. So fasting is the best thing we can do for continued health, not just for the brain, but the entire body.
And once we stop fasting, we need to to add foods like
Yes,
this
we
to our
need
diet. You
either a
can't just go back to unhealthy eating.
Yes, and I wrote a book on this last year, and that's simply the healthy keto diet or the keto zone. And so again, or beyond keto, the keto diet is the healthiest, but most people, 95%, don't follow a healthy keto diet. They follow an unhealthy
keto diet.
Yes, which is slabs of bacon and butter and cheese, and that's not healthy.
Yes.
And or the healthy Mediterranean, either one. But the best for reversing Alzheimer's is the healthy keto diet, by far.
And it's very doable. I mean, the book, this is the newest book. There are many more healthy brain recipes in Dr. Colbert's book, along with 25 ways to fuel your brain. It's called Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, and it is available nationwide. We say thank you to you so much. It's always great to have you here, and you give us things we can do.
Yes.
We can actually do, make it work.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
It's easy to do, too.
Yes, it is easy to do.